So we will start today's session. So sit comfortably wherever you are. Keep your back and neck straight. And once you feel ready, very gently close your eyes. Start observing your breath, watching the natural flow of the breathing. Now slowly bring your attention to your body. Become aware of your posture and see if you need to adjust your posture. Make sure that your back and neck remains straight, eyes gently closed, face, neck and shoulders should be relaxed. Gently come back to your breathing and now begin to deepen the breath, going for slow, long and deep inhalations, slow, long and deep exhalations. Practice Puraka and Japa. We will open today's session by chanting 3 times, followed by the Guru Mantra. Take a deep inhalation for me. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Take a deep inhalation for Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Feel the vibration. Join your palms together and begin to rub the palms together. Place the palms on the hands. Very slowly, while blinking and looking at the palms, begin to open up your eyes, coming back with a big smile on your face. Om Shanti. So let us begin today's session. So today's session is going to be about two things. One is going to be some theory that we will cover, and then we're also going to go for a practice today. So again, it is a pre-practice for pranayama. So first topic of discussion for today is the general notes for a pranayama practitioner. So before you begin pranayama or in an attempt to prepare for pranayama, there are some general notes that you have to keep in mind, right? And today we are going to discuss a few of them, and then we are going to move on to our practice for today. So you can write down the heading as general notes for a pranayama practitioner. Okay. So let's begin with the general notes, right? So most of the times these things are ignored, and these are very little things that you can incorporate into your practice, which will help you heavily, right? So it's going to change the quality of the practice that you were doing. If you have practiced pranayama before, maybe you have done it before, but now the quality is going to heavily change because of these little instructions that I will just tell you about. So first thing is, first topic you can write down is the contraindications, right? So contraindications are nothing but people who should not practice pranayama. So as the name in itself suggests that each pranayama will have its own contraindications, but there is a general idea or highlight that you should know about. And that is what I will clarify. So this is just a general, this should be a general understanding. So during illness, no pranayama practice should be done. Okay? It can be any kind of illness, right? But during that illness, suppose you have fever, okay? So during fever, don't practice pranayama. After the fever, you can practice, right? But during the illness, you should ideally try to avoid the practice of pranayama. You should go for the pre-practices. Like yesterday, we have done abdominal breathing. And before that, we had done natural breathing, which was just to follow the breath, right? So both of these practices can be done during the peak of the illness, but pranayama should not be, right? Pranayama practices are very specific practices, and if done incorrectly, they can harm your body, right? So during illness, avoid these practices. For heart patients, especially, you have to take a lot of care. Okay, so that's the next thing. That for heart patients, you have to keep a very minute check on their progress, and a lot of practices they cannot do. So by default, a lot of practices get removed because of their heart condition. So even if you choose to introduce some of the practices to them which are accessible to them, you have to be very careful while you do so, right? Now, next point of discussion is a very commonly asked question. What is the ideal time to practice pranayama, right? So you can write down time of practice. So ideally, pranayama should be done in the early hours of, right? And I will tell you why this is, because at that point of time, the mind is free in a way, right? So as you progress through your day, there are a lot of thoughts, there are a lot of engagements that you have, and generally those cloud your mind. right? So early in the morning, the mind is quite free, quite calm and relaxed. So morning is the best time to practice pranayama. But just in case your schedule doesn't support it, then it's also all right to practice in the evening. Preferably go for the time around sunset. That is another ideal time for practice pranayama. So these two timings, whichever one supports you the best, you can go ahead and practice pranayama at that time. You should always try to keep the timing fixed. Why? Because that is the key to develop a habit, and you are not just learning pranayama to teach it ahead. Your experience in your classes will count a lot, so you will have to keep your practice regular. So when you do pranayama, you have to maintain continuity. So fixing the time is another trick that you can apply so that you can stick to your practices much more easily. Right? So this is the time of practice. The duration of the practice, if you want to understand that also, what is the ideal duration? So I would say for a beginner, there is no ideal duration, right? In the beginning, it's very important that your focus should be on maintaining the continuity. So as much as fits into your everyday schedule, it's practical for you. As you move to the more advanced levels, then this duration, all of these things, number of times, these numbers come in. But for a beginner, it's just important to maintain the continuity. Okay, so it's again, all of you are having different schedules. So whatever fits your schedule the best, you can give that amount of time to your practice, which you know you will be able to carry also, right? If today you are on vacation, you can give one hour, then maybe choosing 1 hour right now is not the ideal time for you. Why? Because eventually your vacation will end and normal activities will begin again. So depending, keeping everything in mind, choose a constant time period, right? Keeping that time period constant for a while will again help you to um, maintain your practice. Right? Let's come to the next point of discussion, which becomes the place of practice. Okay, time and place are two very commonly asked questions. So before you begin pranayama, again you have to set your space. All right, and that space is going to be your place of practice. So the place that you choose, it should first of all be well ventilated, right? So it doesn't mean that you are within four walls, there are no windows, right? So just make sure the room that you choose, it has windows, but that also doesn't mean that you sit in front of the window and practice, right? So cross ventilation should be there in the room, there should be movement of air, but it doesn't mean that you go and sit in front of the window and start practice, right? Because there might be a gush of air some days and that will only disturb or distract you. Right? So what you can do is you can look for an ideal spot, right, in the room where you know the air movement is good. Next thing is that the area should be clean. Of course, your space of practice, you should keep it clean, right? All the dust, the germs, especially for the practice of pranayama. So in asana, you still manage, right? But in pranayama, you are only working with the breath, right? In asana, you have the breath, you have the movement, you have to keep so many things in mind. But when you sit and do pranayama, the breathing becomes your main basis. And if around you there is dust, right, that is what you will breathe, right? So just make sure you keep the space clean, right? You keep what you sit on also clean. Setting up your space becomes very important, especially for practices like pranayama, right? So everybody has great motivation, but gaining the motivation for pranayama meditation, it becomes slightly more difficult. It's not as engaging as we would like the practices to be. In this case, how you set up your space acts as a great motivator, right? So go ahead, choose the mat that you really like, choose the color of the mat that you really like, choose the texture and material of the mat that you really like. If you like plants, you can have plants around you for pranayama practices. Having indoor plants is again a very supportive thing, you can say, right? So you can, if you like, if you can paint the wall or have such kind of wallpaper background that you like, that motivates you, right? So you should always try to set your space in such a way that you feel like showing up on that space. And second thing, it should also trigger the feeling of practice, right? So suppose when you lay down on bed, you just want to sleep, right? Because you have built up that kind of image that when I go to the bed, I am just going to fall asleep, right? I'm going to sleep. So in that same way, when you enter the space that you set for yourself, your mat, the room, right, it should give you that kind of push or automatically activate that thing in your mind that now I'm going to practice. All right. So it becomes easier again. You can choose to take whatever feels relevant for you in this case and choose to leave behind whatever you feel it's not relevant for you. But I would say well ventilated place and clean place. These are two things that are unavoidable. Okay. Apart from that, it's up to you. It's your choice. Okay. Next point of discussion, again, which becomes very, very important. It is the empty stomach. Okay. So, like for your asana practice, for pranayama, your stomach should be empty. So early in the morning, it's not an issue. You have eaten the night before, you wake up, you freshen up, and after that you sit and do pranayama. So there is no problem at all. But if you choose the time of your practice to be the evening time, then you have to be more careful, right? So at least give 2 to 3 hours of gap between a meal and your practice. Means if the sun is setting around 6, suppose, so you at least eat by 3, right? I mean, like maximum you eat by 3, okay? Because you have to give 3 hours of gap, right? So once you give this 3 hours of gap, then at 6 o'clock you can go ahead, do your practice, right? So having an empty stomach is very, very essential for pranayama practices, because if there is food in the stomach, uh, your breathing will get hampered greatly. So you can do one experiment. So next time you have your meal, so just see how if you are able to take a deep breath in and exhale deeply, right? So you will observe this thing that at that point of time it becomes very difficult for you. Your stomach feels very, very heavy. So that is the reason why you should keep your stomach empty during pranayama practices, because filled stomach will greatly impact how you are breathing, right? So the quality of your breath will completely change. Okay. So it's very important to be on an empty stomach, right? This becomes our next point. So we have discussed contraindications, time of practice, place of practice, and the empty stomach. Now, next thing which is of a lot of importance to us is the just give me a moment, I'm forgetting a little bit. Yes, so the bathing, okay, bathing. So now when you do pranayama practices, again, the another commonly asked question is, when should I bathe? Should I bathe before? Should I bathe after? And what happens if I bathe before? How long should I wait for when I bathe? Right? Just a second. All right. So what should be the bathing like timeline, right? So of course it is best if you wake up in the morning, freshen up, bathe, and then practice pranayama, but it's not possible for everyone to do, right? So what you can actually do is, if you are able to take the bath before the pranayama practices, again it's considered to be ideal. But just in case this is not possible for you, you have to take a gap of at least 20 to 30 minutes before you go and bathe. Right? When we do pranayama practices, we work with the breathing, we work with the prana, and the practices that constantly change the temperature and constantly some source of energy. There is some energy that is generated in the body because of this entire process. So whatever benefit you will derive out of your practice, if you immediately go and take a bath, all of that will you know go away, right? If you talk of temperature also, so suppose you are doing certain pranayama practices and you go and bathe, so the body will not get the time to adjust the temperature. And if it is very warm inside, you step outside, it is very cold, the body, because there is such a sudden change in the temperature, you end up falling sick. Or if it's vice versa also, you end up falling sick, right? So it's something like that when you do pranayams, depending on what pranayam practices you are doing, you will either do heating pranayams or cooling pranayams, but they are going to have an impact on the temperature of the body. And if you immediately go and take a bath, right, the body, it will get confused, it will finally end up getting in, right? So at least 20 to 30 minutes after your practice, you should take a bath, right? If you take it before, again, it's great. Let's come to the food also, right? So there is a gap that you need to keep between the food also. So again, before, of course, you have to be empty stomach. And I told you, if you are practicing in the evening, what kind of gap you have to take. But after this, what kind of gap you have to take. So again, it remains the same 20 to 30 minutes at least. You should keep that kind of gap. Again, it has to do with the temperature, change in the temperature of the body. And when you eat food, so all of the energy of the body rushes towards digestion. Again, you pranayam for XYZ benefit, right? The energy got generated for that XYZ purpose. And if you eat food immediately after that, all of the energy will be driven towards the digestion process, right? So you don't want that thing. You want that whatever energy you have generated, it can be utilized in the correct manner, right? For whatever reasons you are practicing pranayama. So just make sure you are on an you don't eat immediately after your practice. You take a gap of at least 20 to 30 minutes after eating the food, right? Again, temperature also changes when you eat the food. So one place with one practice, the temperature is changing, and then you're not giving the body enough time to come back to normal temperature, right? You are immediately going for another activity which will greatly vary the temperature of the body. So take that kind of gap, right? So remaining points we will discuss tomorrow. Let's come to today's practice, right? So today we are going to practice thoracic breathing, right? Thoracic breathing or chest breathing. So yesterday we were talking about abdominal breathing, and I gave you a few hints, right? What the chest breathing is connected with. I told you when we get into any kind of stressful situation, we begin to breathe through the chest. And I also told you that most of the adults are breathing through the chest region only. So the movement of the breath can only be felt on the chest. Abdomen, we don't utilize as such, right? So it's to correct your posture because chest breathing also in adults, they're not able to do it properly, right? So especially if you have a desk job, or in fact with COVID coming in, most of us are sitting only, right? And when we sit, we don't sit with a straight back, we sit with a hunched back, right? So what this does is it's actually uh, restricting the real capability of the chest to breathe. Right? As soon as I sit with a little bit of hunch in my back, my breathing capacity gets blocked somewhere, right? When I sit straight, then again, the chest has more scope for movement. So this time we are going to go reverse, right? It doesn't mean we are not going to sit straight. We are going to straight, we are going to try to expand and contract the chest properly, and this will lead to posture correction as well. So now through breathing practices, we are also indirectly working on our posture, right? Abdominal breathing, thoracic breathing, these are great ways to correct your breathing patterns and simultaneously correct your posture, right? So as the name suggests, in this breathing, our focus is going to be the chest or the rib cage, right? This entire region, this is my area of focus. So when I breathe in, I will feel my chest rise, and when I breathe out, I will feel that my chest is contracted. Okay. This doesn't mean that you are breathing in with a lot of noise, like sometimes, I will just demonstrate. Sometimes students, what they do is, no, we are going to breathe normally only. We are not going to move the body also so much, like up and down, right? We are just sitting comfortably, we are sitting straight, and normally only when I inhale, so I will just demonstrate this practice. Keep one hand on your chest. Okay? Right? So you weren't able to hear that sound which you were earlier, right? When I gave the wrong demonstration, this is the correct demonstration. All you're doing is sitting straight, sitting comfortably, and you are not specifically forcing the breath to come in or move out of your system. It is coming into your system and moving out of your system very naturally. But there is a lot of sense of control that you establish, right? So for first one or two breaths, maybe you can go up to the capacity of however you are breathing currently, but then you begin to increase this capacity, right? So much control should be gained that you are deciding how long you are taking to inhale, how long you are taking to exhale, right? Now, you will say if chest breathing is associated with stress, then why should I do chest breathing? Right? It is already associated with stressful situation. And I in my life have a lot of stress, so I will only do abdominal breathing. So to answer this, you should practice thoracic breathing, right? But the problem takes place when you just stick to thoracic breathing and you forget to switch back to abdominal breathing, right? And both abdominal and thoracic breathing, they become great ways of or great tools for you to um, have more oxygen supply in your blood, right? So when you do the thoracic breathing at this point of time, your goal is going to be maximum expansion of the chest and equal contraction also of the chest, right? So right now, like I said, most of the adults, they're not even doing chest breathing properly. So this practice will greatly help you to first thing, breathe properly through this portion, right? Then second thing, it will open your chest up in ways you cannot understand unless and until you don't practice. So when you do thoracic breathing continuously, you will feel your chest also opening up to a great extent, right? Just through breathing, right? So thoracic breathing is a very essential part of the three practices of pranayama. And just because the chest breathing is associated to stress, that doesn't mean you cannot work on it in a very disciplined manner, right? After you do thoracic breathing, what you can do is you can switch back to abdominal breathing. So give some time coming back to abdominal breathing, right? Yesterday, I also talked about the various lobes of the chest. So I told you that the abdominal breath, it is associated with the lower lobes of the chest, right? And today, when we do the thoracic breathing, we are actually nourishing the middle lobes of the lungs, right? So now the target area becomes the middle lobes. Ideally, the abdominal breathing is the easiest way to breathe, right? It will require the least effort, and then thoracic breathing, today you, if you are sitting correctly, if you are doing the breathing properly, you will feel more effort to breathe through the chest, right? It will take you more effort, it will take you more, um, will or energy to breathe through the chest, right? So, chest breathing is slightly straining in its nature. And same thing, you can lie down and do this practice. So this is one pre-practice that you can lie down and do. So anybody who is feeling any kind of block, especially in the chest region, for them thoracic breathing done correctly, all right, not with force, done correctly, will give them a lot of relief and benefit. Okay? So let's choose our posture. I would highly recommend that you practice in a laying position. But if you want to sit straight, if you want to practice with, while adopting a sitting posture, then again it is totally up to you. Right? When you inhale, your hand should be on the chest. You should feel the expansion in the chest. When you exhale, you should feel the contraction in your chest. Right? You should take equal time to inhale and exhale. Right? And the hand should be placed very lightly. So don't cause a lot of stress or strain just because your hand is placed. It's just to keep a mental check on what the movement is. The movement of the breath has to be continuous. There has to be no holding. So after you finish the inhalation, you immediately go back to the exhalation and just try to feel the breath. So I would say take these few classes to prepare yourself for the upcoming classes. Feel the breath, expand your chest, feel the chest open when you do the practice of thoracic breathing. So if you wish to sit, again, it is totally up to you. If you choose to lie down, again, it's up to you. If you're sitting, back neck should be straight. Your weight should be equally balanced on the hips. Eyes should be gently closed. Face, neck, and shoulders should be relaxed. And hands should be placed on the knees. If you choose to lie down, then both your legs should be slightly apart. Feet should fall out so that they are relaxed. Hands should be away from the body. Palms should face upwards. And overall, your neck and shoulders over here also should be relaxed. Just completely relax your body before we begin the practice. We are going to just focus on the nostril breath for a while. We just watch each and every inhalation, each and every exhalation as you continue your breathing. Now slowly show your attention to your body. Become aware of posture. See if you need to make any adjustments. Gently come back to your breath. Start deepening the breath for a bit. We will start with our first practice, which is abdominal breathing. So you can place one hand on your abdomen. Exhale fully. And as you begin to inhale, feel the abdomen rise. As you exhale, contract your abdomen. Inhale and exhale in this manner, keeping your attention fully focused on the movement of your abdomen. Just allow yourself to experience abdominal breathing. Begin to gain some control over your breath. Keep experiencing this process. Experience each and every breath. Make sure that your abdomen rises and contracts as at its best capacity. After your next exhalation, suspend your practice. Come back to the natural flow of your breathing. You can relax your hand and simply observe the changes after the practice of abdominal breathing. Keeping your back and neck straight if you are sitting, and even if you are lying down. Prepare yourself for the next practice. Place one hand on your chest region. Exhale fully. Relax your chest. As you begin to inhale, focus on the chest region and expand the rib cage as much as possible. As you exhale, contract the lungs. Feel the rib cage relax. And continue to take a few more breaths in the same manner. Inhale, expand the chest. Exhale, relax the chest. Go at your own pace. And slowly, slowly begin to gain more control over. Keep practicing and feel each and every breath as it fills your system. Each and every breath as you exhale out. Keep your entire attention and focus on the chest region. And if at any point of time your mind wanders, gently bring it back to the movement of your chest as you breathe. Go for a few more breaths. After your next exhalation, completely suspend your practice. Keeping the eyes closed, simply observe the breathing and how you feel after the practice of thoracic breathing. Just check this thing. We are going to end this session with some more abdominal breathing so that we can come back to the most efficient way of breathing. So without bringing your hand to your abdomen, you can just keep the attention focused on the abdomen. As you inhale, feel the abdomen expand and rise. As you exhale, contract the abdomen. After the next exhalation, again, just suspend the practice. There should be enough to, uh, for you to come back to the abdominal breathing. If you still haven't, you can take a few more breaths. Now, those of you who are lying down, gently move your fingers, move your toes. Start becoming aware of your body. Run both the legs together and turn towards the left side. Make a cushion of your left hand. Place the right hand on the ground. And when you feel ready, with the support of the right hand, you can begin to lift your body back up, keeping the eyes closed. Sit comfortably. Just observe how you're feeling after your practice. What is the state of your mind? What is the state of your breath? Now, prepare yourselves for closing today's session. Keeping the back and neck straight, we will chant Om one time, followed by the Shanti mantra. Take a deep inhalation for Om. Om. Sarve bhavantu sukhina. Sarve santu niram. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma paschyat dukhabhag bhavet. Ma paschyat dukhabhag bhavet. Deep inhalation for Om. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Feel the vibrations. Join your palms together gently, bow your head down. Just a sense of gratitude in your heart. Begin to rub your palms together. Place your palms on your eyes. We'll do this 2 more times. So rub your palms together properly. Keep them on the eyes. One last time. Rub your palms together. Them on the eyes. Now, very slowly, while blinking and looking at your palms, open up your eyes. Come back with a big, beautiful smile on your face. Om Shanti. Namaste. Guys, keep practicing abdominal breathing. That's going to help you the most and help you for a very long period of time. So continue your practice and I will see you on Monday for the next class. Take care and bye-bye.